I'm wearing my sunglasses because it's a little known secret here in the UK that the little gap between March and April is the hottest season of the entire year. And we're having some lovely weather. Where are my glasses? There we go. So, different setup. I kind of like it. It's pretty funky, huh? I mean, the light's right here. It's a bit bright. We'll have to see how it is. Anyway, this video. Yes. This. I want to say new lens. Oh, there we go. I want to say new lens, but it's not new. It's actually quite old. Almost 20 years old. 1999 they started making these 70-200 f4s. Anyway, why have I got it? Why is it worth mentioning? Because I want to ask a serious question and answer it hopefully for any of you out there. I want to know, is it worth getting older lenses just to save money over the new ones? Well, today I'm going to tell you why I bought this one. I mean, it's pretty simple. I couldn't afford the newer ones or the f2.8s. Couldn't afford them. But there's a good reason why I bought this anyway, and let me tell you what that is. So, the reason I got this lens, the 70-200 f4, the original 1999 version, is because, as I mentioned in my last video, I have been hired to shoot event photography, beginning of April until the 10th. Now, this event photography is mostly sport related, and I haven't got a telephoto lens that's good enough for things like, let's say, rugby or hockey or swimming. This 50mm is the only lens I've got, and it's the one I record with, and I got it because it was cheap and affordable, and it genuinely is pretty up there in terms of its classification compared to other 50mm out there. This 70-200, however, I'm using for the next week or two to photograph sports, and of course the 50mm couldn't do that. There were a few other options. There's the 70-300, the sort of cheaper kit variant that Canon do for £449. This, from Amazon, cost me it cost me £589, which is a pretty good price considering the 70-200 f2.8 is the new one. The Mark III is just over £2,000. I couldn't afford that, and I definitely wasn't being paid enough to afford that. Although, as I said, I am planning to get it. Just maybe next month. After all this work, I'll get it. It's a shame I couldn't buy it beforehand because it would have been fantastic. Yes, anywho, there's a reason why I got this, and there's a reason why it actually is a good purchase for anyone out there who's thinking about getting a telephoto, but isn't sure whether or not the f4, non-image stabilized, is good enough. I haven't actually unboxed it yet, so this will be quite exciting. Let's get rid of this foamy stuff. There's the lens hood. Here we go. Here's the... This right here is the 70-200 f4 from Canon. It's the old version, and it's not image stabilized either, which is, if you don't know what image stabilization is, it's a method of reducing shake. Mostly it's to reduce the hand vibrations that every human has whilst they're holding their camera, and supposedly it does work in some cameras better than others, and it does work in some lenses better than others. It can allow you to expose an extra stop or two. I know that the Canons, for example, the 70-200 f4 stabilized lets you have an extra stop of exposure when it's turned on. But there's a good reason why image stabilization doesn't actually matter for me, and that's because I'm shooting sports. Now sports, the events that I'm doing, they're all fast action sports. There's cricket, football, rugby, athletics, swimming, running, dancing. It's all fast sports, and I need to freeze the action to get a decent shot for sports, especially for the stuff that the people who hired me want to use them for, which is for marketing and things like that. So image stabilization in a scenario like that sort of photography isn't needed, because I don't need to shoot lower than, let's say, 500, 1/500 as a shutter speed, or 1/1000th, for example. I'm pretty sure that for most of the day and most of the events I'm doing throughout that week and a half will all be shot at 1/1000th of a second, because I need to freeze the action. Now, you could say, what about indoors? Yeah, you're right. There will be a time, especially when it comes to the swimming, where it might be quite dark, and I'm going to need an extra stop of exposure. That's where the f2.8 would have come in handy, because it would have allowed me to have an extra stop of exposure. So, what are my expectations? Well, I've used the Sony 70-200 f4 before, and that lens compared to this one is relatively new and up to date and modern. It has image stabilization. It's extremely sharp, like crystal sharp. But this, I've heard good reviews about. This is apparently quite a sharp lens. I'm gonna make sure that I show you some photographs from this when the event is done, just to give a final verdict on whether or not you should buy this in 2019. Because of course there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. For the examples I've mentioned previously, you want image stabilization and you want f2.8. Now, I don't know how many of you know about the holy trinity of lenses, them being the 70-200, the 24-70, and the 16-35, either in f4 or f2.8. Ideally in f2.8 if you can afford it. That setup of lenses is supposedly all the photographer needs to shoot. 16-35 is ideal for videos and filmmaking. And 24-70 is a good all-round purpose lens. You can keep it on your camera all the time, and usually it fills in the gap that you need. It has enough range to get a portrait shot, and it's wide enough to get an entire scene in shot. The 70-200, however, is the only lens capable of getting portrait-style telephoto shots out of the entire trinity of lenses, because 70mm and the max end of a 24-70 isn't far enough. It's just like this 50mm, just a little bit tighter, whereas 200mm is far better. It would be a fair comparison to say that the 70-200 f4 isn't as good as the Sigma versions or the Tamron ones, but those lenses are third-party after all, and third-party lenses come with their own quirks. It's not all about image quality, it's also about build quality, and Canon have some of the best build quality, if not the best build quality out there. That means quality. I mean, it's L for luxury, I think. It's a bit pompous, I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, it's not as bad as Grandmaster. That's 2 words, yikes. But yeah, the red ring supposedly means that if I'm out there in the rain, this isn't gonna break on me. And that's one reason why I got this compared to getting the third-party ones. Anyway, I'm looking forward to showing you a bit more about this, and I'm sorry that I haven't got anything to show you now, because that makes me look a bit stupid. What was the point of talking about a lens without actually showing you any images? Well, it's because, to be honest, you should just know what this is going to get you. You should expect that when you pick this lens up from a shop, whether it's this one in particular or the newer ones, you should know why it is you're spending $2 and a bit grand on a lens. You should know what you're after. And if you're after length, and you're after portraits, and you're after capturing low light photography, you're gonna need one of these. So yeah, there are some downsides to having such an old lens. But do I regret buying this? No. Because at the end of the day, it's a tool, and you need tools to do your job. There's a reason I got the 1DX, yeah? I had a Sony a7 II, had a Sony a7 III, and then I traded that for an a7R3. I did that because I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know what tool I needed. And none of those lenses, none of those cameras had lenses that were affordable, like this, but also versatile, like this, and long-lasting, like this. It's gonna work, just like the 1DX will. Rain or shine, it's gonna work. I hope for sun, because that's what I'd like, but rain or shine, this is gonna work, and that's important to me. It's important to my clients, it's important to future clients, future businesses, it's important to anyone out there. You need to seriously consider whether or not getting the newest, greatest thing is worth spending $2.5 grand on, when you could get something hopefully just as good for a fraction of that, and still have the quality that you need. to get a job done. I will be back in 2 weeks' time when I've done my work to show you what I got, and we'll have a final review on whether or not I think the Canon 70-200 f4 non-image stabilized 1999 version is worth it. Because hopefully, in the next coming months, I'll get the new 70-200 f2.8 Mark III, and I can properly tell you then whether or not it's worth it. So thank you everyone for watching. That was scary, and I'll see you all next time. I hope you like the new angle. Let me know. I kind of like it. I'm not too sure about the light though. I think it's a bit too strong, but I don't know. I'm not the best. And again, thank you all very much for watching, and goodbye. Two-headed moose. I like it. This could be part of it. This could be part of the interesting outro.